So today's podcast is a bit of a special one because it's the first time the In Conversation boys have reached out and they've created a podcast with the amazing Nasmax from ManvFAT Cardiff. So here it is, Nasmax with Champo in conversation with the ManvFAT Wales podcast.
Okay, and welcome back to the In Conversation cage. There is no cage. There is no cage at all. The ManvFAT Wales YouTube channel In Conversation. I've been told I'm not allowed to use that term because it's not on the Newport cage, but I'm using it because I'm proud of it. And I'm also privileged and proud to be joined by the coach of ManvFAT Cardiff, Nasmax. How are we doing?
I'm not bad, really. Thanks for coming down, mate.
I've thoroughly enjoyed my evening, and I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it more because I'm getting to interview the heart of ManvFAT Cardiff, the coach himself. We'll start with, how did you become sort of involved with ManvFAT?
Yeah, okay. So it's a bit of a longer. I'm not going to take too long to tell the story, but it was a long time coming. So way before there was the ManvFAT football, there was a website. So the old owner, Andrew Shanahan, he started an online magazine. He was the journalist, he started an online magazine, and there was a forum, and it was a place to go for men to talk about weight loss and health and all this kind of stuff. Nothing else existed like that at the time. This was back in about, I think, 2015. And me being, my background is in health and fitness, personal trainer and nutritionist. I fell off the wagon a bit myself, put on about 30-40 pounds. I was struggling a little bit with, I knew what to do, I just couldn't get it done. So I was struggling with the head side of things, the mental side of things. Needed some support, so I went online looking for, if there's some kind of a community or a group to join. I figured I need a bit of a support system, and I found this website, ManvFAT, and it was a forum. So going on there, asking questions, and just getting some advice from non-fitness stuff. I didn't tell anybody I was a fitness professional at first. I was getting some help, and as I was getting help, and I was getting back into shape, I started giving help the opposite way around, and it kind of springboarded. Right. Eventually, long story short, that turned into Shan. Eventually, as they kicked off the football and it all came to fruition, he asked me if I would want to take on the Cardiff club when they expanded. I couldn't initially at the time. I was just a little bit too busy. So it initially went to Cardiff City Football Club. They were in it for the first season, but they just didn't do too good of a job with it. So essentially, he nagged me until I took her on initially. Not for not wanting to do this stuff. I just didn't have much time, and I thought if I'm going to do something like this, I want to do it properly. I want to serve the guys properly, not do it half-assed, and do the best job I can. But that's kind of how I got into it initially. Does that make any sense? Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. Why would you want to try and impact people that want to make a change for themselves unless you want to do it properly?
Yeah.
That's exactly the point, and I fully understand, especially with the background of your the professional level of the sort of exercise and fitness side of the things that you've got. Yeah. I think it's very helpful for the guys here, and they're very lucky to have you here.
I didn't want to, sorry to cut in, I didn't want to, I figured if I can't do it, I'd rather somebody else do it properly instead of me do it half-assed. Yeah. I'd want the guys to be, because it's a big thing for me with the health and fitness stuff. It's what I do and what I love, and I think if you're going to do it and be involved, you're kind of a servant. For me, I'm a servant in this industry, and I want to do it the best I can, or not at all, or somebody else should take the role.
Yeah, fantastic. It's very, very good to hear. And I hope a lot of coaches are in a similar stance to you on that. I'd like to think that.
I hope so. Yeah.
I'd like to think that. What made you want to become a coach? Obviously, you got asked, but what made you say, sort of, yes, I'll do it?
With ManvFAT?
Yes, with ManvFAT.
So I got to the point where I was helping a lot of the guys online. I knew they were struggling with Cardiff City. I think in short, back then they wanted to do their own version of it, so they were just looking at the model so they could copy and make their own version, and the guys just weren't getting that support. So Rog came down to see me. I'm not sure if you remember Rog. Rog's a legend. So he was one of the originals way back in the day. I forget his last name now. Some of the guys who watch this stand will know Rog, but somebody came down on behalf of Shan to have a chat with me. I came to the session, met some of the guys. And I think it's just that the coach side inside of me. I met the guys, I knew what they were struggling with, I knew I could help. And for me, I feel like there's almost a bit of a responsibility if I can help. And I knew they weren't getting the help. There was nobody else they were looking to take over the club. And I thought, right, okay, if I can fit this in, I need to. Because there's a bunch of guys here, they need help, they're not getting help. I live around the corner. So I felt more of a responsibility that I need to get involved. Not that I didn't want to as well, but more of an urge of I can, so I need to. It's a responsibility.
Good, very good. Yeah, fantastic. How long have you been a coach for?
Long time. God, 4 years I think. 2018. Yeah, I think 2018. ManvFAT Cardiff.
Extremely proud of what you've got going on here with Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean the goal for Cardiff was always it wasn't just about Cardiff. It was about we didn't have a presence in Wales, so the goal was always to use Cardiff as a springboard to grow at the clubs. We knew it was going to take a while. We had to grow Cardiff first, get the capacity, get the viewers, get the exposure rather, build that up, and then once that was built up, then we could start spreading. So we knew that would take a while, a good few years, but we're doing it now. So we've got Cardiff, we've got Newport, which is doing awesome, just won League of the Year, which you're in, and Stan.
I've been told I'm not allowed to mention it, but come on.
Well, it's like we bounce off each other, man. We're partners. We're from the same background.
Yeah, Stan said on the way down here. I mean, this was the first ManvFAT in Wales.
Yes.
Here in Cardiff.
Yeah.
So everything sort of grew from here.
Yeah, so this was the foundation point. We wanted to use this to grow the one in Newport. Newport was always going to be second, and I knew from day one Stan wanted to run Newport, so the goal was to get Newport going. Stan's going to be the coach in Newport. Once that gets going, then we'll have the next one, then we're going to have the next one, and it's spreading now, and hopefully now we got to the point where the seeds are going to produce more seeds. So with Newport now doing as well as it is in those areas, you've got Cwmbran and Pontypool, so Newport now can be a springboard for new clubs. And then we've got Bridgend opening, we've got Merthyr, Swansea, and they might be the springboard for more clubs further and further on. So it's the plan is coming to fruition. It was always the plan to just end up, going kind of, is viral the right word? I don't know, but just keep spreading and having the other clubs spreading. So we're doing the plan. We're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's fantastic how many clubs are sort of there, but also are sort of coming into the sort of programme starting very, very soon. I've seen the list of the new ones coming, and it's quite a lot.
There's a lot, yeah. So what we got now in Wales, we got us, Cardiff, Newport, we got Swansea, which Ben is doing a great job with. Merthyr's just starting now with Alex. When you guys again, same thing. So and he'll homegrown as well.
Yeah, he'll do fantastic there.
He's going to do amazing, Alex. Yeah, he's going to do fantastic. And we got that's what Cardiff, Newport, Swansea, Merthyr, Bridgend. So we're going to have 5 in Wales now.
Pontypool not starting?
Pontypool is, I'm not sure if there's any plans or dates, but there's a plan for one in Pontypool, there's a plan for one in Cwmbran. But look, in a short space of time, before, it took a while for Newport to get going because the pandemic kicked in right before Newport was going to start, but before the pandemic, we had one club, it was Cardiff. Newport was ready to go, and then Newport's come, Merthyr, Swansea, so it's all, it's speeding up as well. And it's going to keep speeding up. So it's amazing, it's great to see. And plus it's given the other guys opportunities, guys who have come up through the programme. They're learning the ropes, they're becoming PFs, they're becoming captains first of all, then they're becoming PFs, and then they're becoming coaches in their own right, and then they're going to do the same with other guys. So it's kind of guys coming up through the ranks and then helping other people to lose weight, but then bring other people up as well.
Fantastic. I'm sure it will, because if this has been a success at Newport and Swansea and the rest around the UK, I think they'll just continue to grow as well.
Yeah.
And I think that it's quite. I don't think coaches get enough recognition for the work that they do, because, all right, you get paid to do your job. However, your job is to help ManvFAT grow as well as sort of coach the ones that are already there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I think that coaches do a fantastic job. I've been here tonight for the first night, and I can see how well that you connect well with your clubman here. Obviously, I see it in Newport. I haven't been into Swansea and stuff. And I think it's fantastic what the coaches do, and I think it's fantastic what you do here as well. I've seen that firsthand tonight. This next question, I'm not sure whether to word it, because obviously the background in terms of how good you are with your fitness sort of element of things, but has ManvFAT, being a coach of ManvFAT, changed the way that you approach anything at all?
Oh, yeah, massively, yeah. Okay. Massively. So before, when I was doing, I left the health and fitness industry for a while, for a long time. I used to, going back 20 years ago, I qualified as a PT, then I did nutrition stuff, and I've done a bunch of other kind of things within health and fitness. I eventually fell into running gyms, and getting into the corporate side, got a bit disillusioned with the way he was going, just to make money and don't worry what happens type thing, which it was going back 15, 20 years ago. went into corporate. So getting out of shape and finding ManvFAT, the website online before the football, was a blessing for me because I got back into the industry that way. So I got back into the coaching, and from a different aspect as well. So before I'd work in the gym, and I do mostly work on athletes and stuff to a certain degree. But then it totally changed who I work with because now I'm relatable. I've been where the guys are before. I've never been a super, whatever you want to label it, super big. I've never been morbidly obese or really, really huge. But in my own way, I've had my own struggles.
Okay.
So I know what that feels like to a certain degree. So when I'm talking with these guys out here who are a little bit uncomfortable in their clothes, they don't want to take their top off on holiday, or they don't feel like they can wear their nice suit in the back of the closet. They worry about what people are going to think when they're walking down the street, or if they want to go out for dinner with the missus and they feel a bit funny in this nice, they're just not comfortable with how they feel in themselves. So I can relate to that now. I get what I feel. I couldn't before. So before, I would have just told people to, move more, eat less, just get it done, discipline. I know that isn't the way it works because I've been it myself. So it's changed the way I fundamentally think and coach myself in my own business and practice, which, it's changed everything massively. Plus being part of the community and these guys as well.
Yeah, so the guys I've spoken to tonight have complimented the community here massively, and I can visually see how good the community is here.
Yeah.
Champo moves on with his questioning here to discuss with Naz. Has anything changed about him since he's been a ManvFAT coach? Has it changed him as a person?
Oh, yeah, massively, yeah, massively. So before, when I was doing, I left the health and fitness industry for a while, for a long time. I used to, going back 20 years ago, I qualified as a PT, then I did nutrition stuff, and I've done a bunch of other kind of things within health and fitness. I eventually fell into running gyms and getting into the corporate side, got a bit disillusioned with the way he was going, just to make money and don't worry what happens type thing, which it was going back 15, 20 years ago. Went into corporate. So getting out of shape and finding ManvFAT, the website online before the football, was a blessing for me because I got back into the industry that way. So I got back into the coaching, and from a different aspect as well. So before I'd work in the gym, and I do mostly work on athletes and stuff to a certain degree. But then it totally changed who I work with because now I'm relatable. I've been where the guys are before. I've never been a super, whatever you want to label it, super big. I've never been morbidly obese or really, really huge. But in my own way, I've had my own struggles.
Okay.
So I know what that feels like to a certain degree. So when I'm talking with these guys out here who are a little bit uncomfortable in their clothes, they don't want to take their top off on holiday, or they don't feel like they can wear their nice suit in the back of the closet. They worry about what people are going to think when they're walking down the street, or if they want to go out for dinner with the missus and they feel a bit funny in this nice, they're just not comfortable with how they feel in themselves. So I can relate to that now. I get what I feel. I couldn't before. So before, I would have just told people to, move more, eat less, just get it done, discipline. I know that isn't the way it works because I've been it myself. So it's changed the way I fundamentally think and coach myself in my own business and practice, which, it's changed everything massively. Plus being part of the community and these guys as well.
Yeah, so the guys I've spoken to tonight have complimented the community here massively, and I can visually see how good the community is here.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question now then, which, because I sent you the question originally, there's one on there, so I just want to touch on it a little bit, because I think it's important for sort of people that think that what we're doing is relatively easy. Do you think it's easy to lose weight?
No, not at all. Not at all. It can be, it should be simple.
It sounds simple, right?
Yeah, it should be simple, and it can be simple. That doesn't mean it's easy though. So what I mean by that is when most people start, so if we actually back it up a little bit, there's the main issue when it comes to weight, especially with males in the Western world and the UK, is keeping the weight off. People very often lose weight, but they tend to lose and regain the same weight, back and forth, back and forth. Losing weight is tough in itself anyway, but keeping the weight off tends to be an issue. What tends to happen is people get inspired, they go all in for 2 or 3 weeks. New Year's time is a big one, or whenever they find something, and that's great because you've been inspired, you want to do something. And most of us have busy lives, right? We're working, we've got families, we've got other priorities. Finding time for yourself as a busy man, especially in this day and age right now, there's not much time. So if you're doing tons of complicated stuff, all the exercise in the world, all the crazy diets in the world, when life gets busy, that's probably the first thing that's going to go. So what people tend to do is make it really complicated. So what we need to be doing is making it really simple. What would be the simple things you can do that are not going to stress you out but would still move the needle? So if you can do something simple and it moves the needle, it makes more sense to do the simple thing than the hard thing if they get the same results. So that would be simple, keeping it simple. But as far as easy, it's definitely not easy, because what comes with this stuff is all the head thing as well. The head stuff, which is a whole... I'm rambling on a little bit now. Sorry. But yeah, in short, no, it's not easy, but it should be simple. I think people confuse that a lot of the time. People think it needs to be hard, they think it needs to be complicated, and they need to be doing all this crazy stuff. When in fact it should be the other way around. It should be be simple, and it should fit into your lifestyle, because it is hard. That's why it's not easy. It is hard, so it needs to be simple. If that makes any sense.
That absolutely makes sense. And I'm only asking because I'm one of these people that thought it was easy, and then I'm one of these that are exactly what you described.
And then it catches off.
Lose it, put it on. Lose it, put it on. Lose it, put it on. I'm exactly like that, and that's why I sort of asked that question, because I think there's a lot of people that will resort to that, and it generally isn't as easy as I thought it would be. I generally thought, I can do this easy and stuff. No,
just need a bit of willpower, just need discipline. That's
the key.
Just need to get my head right. But then those things never happen, right? Because all that stuff it's a limited resource.
Yeah.
And if you've got family and you've got work stresses and you're busy, all that headspace is going to go on that stuff. You can't, so it's going to go at some point. So if we can do stuff that doesn't take up lots of headspace and willpower, then you can stick to it, and then you can be consistent. You can keep it simple. Still hard, still going to be hard.
Yeah, 100%.
And, you've got to face that and be willing to do the work. But yeah, you need to try and keep. Sorry, I cut into you then. Well, can I ask you a question on that? As well. So for you, like when you talked about the same kind of thing as well, you've lost a bit, put it back on the same kind of way. Why do you think that is for you and for other guys as well? What's your perspective?
Well, for me personally, it comes down to willpower to sort of say no. I'm sort of strict on what I've done, so I've changed quite a lot. Sort of on since I've joined ManvFAT. I have a treat day.
Okay.
I don't necessarily spread treats out for the week.
Cool.
So I have a Saturday, our sessions on a Friday. Saturday, I'm in work in the morning, so then I've got the afternoon, the evening at home with the family, which is nice. And we'll usually get a takeaway. That's usually my treat day. Sometimes spills over onto a Sunday, depending sort of on how I feel. And then usually Monday to Thursday, I try and smash it out. But I find myself, especially I'll talk this week in general, Tuesday, didn't have any breakfast Tuesday. Usually I have one meal a day, and that's usually breakfast. I'll then have a snack when I go home. Okay. But my breakfast is a cooked breakfast.
So that fills you for the day.
So I'll have a cooked breakfast, and then I'll find myself having a little snack either through the day in work, whether it be via a Snickers bar or a pack of crisps. But then I find myself, and when I'm going home, I'm snacking more. So I'll have like last night I got home and I had small pieces of chicken fillets, plain, and some barbecue rice. After that, then I found myself eating some chocolate, and I don't like doing that.
Okay.
I don't like doing that. And then Tuesday night, before I went home and had a meal Tuesday night, so last night before I went home and had that, I had a double cheeseburger from McDonald's. And it's just easy because I like them sort of foods, and I know I can incorporate it in the week. But I find it difficult, and I find it difficult this week, mainly down to my willpower, being strict on being sort of like I don't want this, don't do this, don't have this yet, and sort of balancing the meal sort of things out.
Yeah.
Because of what I've changed, I'm going from potentially 2 to 3 meals a day regular, to down to one main meal which I use for breakfast. But then I find myself snacking too much.
Okay.
About 4 weeks ago, I was isolating. My missus tested positive, and I was negative, thank God, at the time. But I found myself choosing to stay home and isolate. Sensible thing to do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That first week, Stan passed, and we did a roadside weigh-in for myself.
Cool.
And that very first week, so I'm at home, stuck in.
So that gives you a little bit of oomph again to go,
stuck in, and very easily finding myself being able to want a snack. That first week, I lost 1.8 kilo on that first week of isolating.
Why do you think that is? What made it? Was it the weigh-in?
I was
Kind of-
being really strict on myself
Okay.
because I felt that this was the challenge of it's easy because I'm stuck in.
Yeah.
It's easy to go,
Yeah.
I don't want to cook, let's order
Yeah.
food. That happened the second week.
Okay.
Because then I tested positive for 4 days, so I had sort of like 4 days into the new week.
Because you were forced into that box, it made you think, right, I need what do I need to do?
So
to,
because
to
I'd lost
not,
1.8 the previous week, I thought, a kebab, one extra kebab on it, that turned into the following night.
Yeah.
It turned
Easy to
into
do,
the
right? To
following
roll
night.
over to the next
And I
day.
found myself 4 days in a row having a takeaway, and it ruined the week because I just didn't want to say no.
How did you get back out of that cycle?
Seeing
Sorry,
the
I'm
outcome,
asking you questions. How did
seeing
you-
the outcome. See, the thing is, people will learn from this, and seeing the outcome at the end of the week, I was devastated to see how much I'd actually put back on that week, and it I won't say it hurt, but it was an eye opener because I felt disappointed in myself, but I'd massively let the team that I was representing down.
Okay, cool.
And that's the element here. You know, you hear. I've told a lot of people. The football is the fun element. It's an
Yes,
additional element
100%
to
mate.
ManvFAT. The weight loss is the priority. Realistically, you're here to lose weight for yourself.
Yeah.
The changes that then you make that will affect like your family, you know, will make a better family life for your children and stuff like that. That is all because you want to make that change for them.
Yeah.
So, but once you get sort of into it, you don't want to let your teammates down to sort of give you the extra motivation by being successful,
Yeah.
by seeing everyone else
So they prop you up. They're kind of like it's an accountability factor. It's not that you need to have them first and foremost. I mean, it's great you've got the community and all these guys, but you're right. You need this. You're here for you, and what that's going to do for your life and your loved ones and all this stuff. And then you use your team, use your guys, and plus, if it helps you a little bit to stay motivated by saying, "I want to do this for these guys this week," that's great. But it's still you need to be first as well.
100%. But then I don't want to be that guy that turns up on a Friday at Newport, everyone in my team's lost, I've put on, and then that draw, that we get a draw or we lose by a goal, and I could be that difference maker.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not what I want because the rest of the guys that are on the same programme as you for the same reason are all working hard. You know, and it was tough for me. It was tough for me to sort of. I was fortunate that week. I mean, we had a bit of a bad week on the scales collectively, but it does happen from time to time. You're not going to lose weight every week. It is possible. We did have Michael Simmons-Dickens, I think, was like.
Champ sits the nail on the head here. You can't be constantly doing it. Things are going to happen. Things are going to get in your way, and it's how you pick yourself up afterwards. That's the main point.
See, the thing is, people will learn from this, and seeing the outcome at the end of the week, I was devastated to see how much I'd actually put back on that week, and it I won't say it hurt, but it was an eye opener because I felt disappointed in myself, but I'd massively let the team that I was representing down.
Okay, cool.
And that's the element here. You know, you hear. I've told a lot of people. The football is the fun element. It's an
Yes,
additional element
100%
to
mate.
ManvFAT. The weight loss is the priority. Realistically, you're here to lose weight for yourself.
Yeah.
The changes that then you make that will affect like your family, you know, will make a better family life for your children and stuff like that. That is all because you want to make that change for them.
Yeah.
So, but once you get sort of into it, you don't want to let your teammates down to sort of give you the extra motivation by being successful,
Yeah.
by seeing everyone else
So
being
they prop
successful.
you up. They're kind of like it's an accountability factor. It's not that you need to have them first and foremost. I mean, it's great you've got the community and all these guys, but you're right. You need this. You're here for you, and what that's going to do for your life and your loved ones and all this stuff. And then you use your team, use your guys, and plus, if it helps you a little bit to stay motivated by saying, "I want to do this for these guys this week," that's great. But it's still you need to be first as well.
100%. But then I don't want to be that guy that turns up on a Friday at Newport, everyone in my team's lost, I've put on, and then that draw, that we get a draw or we lose by a goal, and I could be that difference maker.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not what I want because the rest of the guys that are on the same programme as you for the same reason are all working hard. You know, and it was tough for me. It was tough for me to sort of. I was fortunate that week. I mean, we had a bit of a a bad week on the scales collectively, but it does happen from time to time. You're not going to lose weight every week. It is possible. We did have Michael Simmons-Dickens, I think, was like 40-something weeks straight.
It's going to be the exception, rather than the rule.
But the very, very rare, I think you'll get hurdles along the way.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had people come to you because they've been struggling, and there's a load of hurdles like over the way and stuff. But it purely, I'm rambling on there. It's when I'm sure you want to go home.
Do you know what I think? No, we're good. But do you know, I think of it as this might sound really strange. Do you remember the game Donkey Kong? We're back in the 80s.
Yes.
The donkey top, throwing the barrels down. So
you've never ever been able to play it properly.
You've got all these different levels, right? With the princess, it's the original Mario, right? So you've got all these. Show my age now. So you've got all these different levels with the Donkey Kong throwing the barrels down, and the levels go upwards a little bit. Every level goes upwards, so the barrels can roll down. So you get to the one level, and this is what I think happens with weight loss a lot of time. You get past this little point you've been stuck at, you get to the next level, and then people often think, right, I'm done now, I'm cool, I'm good. You don't know that the next barrel is coming down, and if they're not ready for it, it's going to knock them back down to the next level. And most people stay on that first level, up and down, with the same 10, 20 pounds. But then as you improve and you get better, there's always going to be new challenges. So you're never going to be, and Stan will tell you this as well, you're never really going to be done. And that's not a bad thing, because if you can be aware of that, it means you can conquer this. If you're aware that you're always going to have to pay attention, things will change, there's always going to be new challenges, great. Because if you don't know, it's going to hit you and knock you back, and you're never going to get past that first level. But as you get fitter and stronger and harder, it's like a video game. You always got the main boss at the end. The main boss at the end is you, and then along the way you've got all these different challenges. But there's always going to be challenges. You know, you're always going to have different things at different levels. So I forgot my point now. Yeah, you get to the next place, and there'll be something new that you won't expect, and they'll knock you off. So I think people have to kind of just be okay with knowing. I always tell guys, if they get to the BMI or the maintenance, I tell them to stick around. Don't shoot off, because you can change your body faster than you can change this stuff up here. So to stick
100%.
around. We got Stan, who's now a coach, and he's done awesome. He's still playing in this league, for example, and he knows he still needs this stuff to a certain. We've had this conversation. We have it pretty often. Same as Ian, one of my PFs. He's done awesome, and he's still here. He knows he still needs to keep going with this stuff.
100%.
So it's a lifelong. It doesn't have to be a lifelong thing of losing the weight, but when you get to where you want to get to, you still have to. What's the word I'm looking for? Practice, or you have to be conscious to stay there.
Yeah.
It's not just automatic.
Well, Stan's always turned around his head. I'm not sure whether you can agree with this or sort of have a different perspective on it. Losing weight is hard, maintaining is harder.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Nobody really knows that outside of theoretical, but until you get there. And then you realise, oh, okay, staying here. Because the research shows this. It's like, you hear the word 95% get thrown around a lot of the time on social media. It's more like 80-85% of people who lose weight end up putting it back. And I think it's something like 2/3 of those people end up putting more on than they had in the first place. There's a really funny phenomenon where people might lose and regain the same 10, 20, 30 pounds for years and years and years, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's the level one stuff, right, where they don't realise the next barrels come in. Very often people will finally break through, they'll find something, they'll hit their lowest weight ever, and not long after that, it happens all the time. It's almost predictable, almost not straight away, but within a few months they'll hit the lowest weight and they go back to their heaviest weight ever. So they surpass where they've been. It happens all the time, and that's just head stuff. It comes with a lot of negative self-beliefs, self-image stuff, seeing yourself as a bigger guy, which I always try and tell guys to. You have to try and see, which comes with staying around afterwards. You can't just lose the weight. You have to stick around and become that person with a new body. I know that might sound a bit woo, but to see yourself as somebody who is slimmer and thinner. Because a lot of the time guys will lose the weight, but they still see themselves as the bigger guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if... I've got that. For example, if I go away on holiday, I always get a little bit funny about taking my shirt off in public. I'm pretty lean. I've got visible abs and stuff at the moment. But that's in my head from where I had a bit of extra weight, and I've still got that lingers. So I know for people who are not where I am, they're definitely going to have that to some degree. It takes a long time.
Similar, because there's a guy called Brad Jenkins in Newport. A couple of times last year, might have been longer than that actually, sort of prior to lockdown. We went into Barry Island, a few of us, for the day on the Friday before ManvFAT the night. Just a fun day down there, just to relax and chill out. He wouldn't take his top off. He wouldn't take his top off because he was concerned about what people would think of him. But the rest of us all took our tops off and just said to him, you know, if you don't take it off, you don't want to take it off. But at the same time, be proud of what you've got. Be proud of who you are, because at the end of the day, you are making changes to yourself. So just show it off and don't worry what anyone else says.
That's so important as well, to be proud of you, to acknowledge your wins and kind of
100%.
Because so many men carry guilt and shame with this stuff, you know. And when you do something good, a lot of the guys that I speak to, they'll do something good, but then they don't perceive it as good. They just perceive it as, I'm undoing the damage. No, we have to now start thinking about what you're doing well, because you're doing good at this. Let's talk about how good you're doing. And if you're doing good, you're going to feel good, and you're going to do even more. You know, so it's a shift in perspective sometimes, which could be hard to do. It's like you said, it's not easy.
Within 2 minutes, he took his top off. We had a photo together.
Amazing.
And then the first thing his missus said, that's the first time ever I've seen you with your top off. Amazing. And it was a massive thing for him. And do you know what? Just to see the smile on his face, it was fantastic. And that's what it's about. And I'm glad he done it. And I'm sure that a lot of people here might be feeling a little bit similar in terms of not feeling comfortable. I personally, my message there would be, don't be ashamed to show who you are.
Yeah.
That is, at the end of the day, that's who you are, but you are making a change. And the only way that I think people can see the change more is by showing them.
Yeah.
By showing them.
Be proud of it. Be proud of what you've done and what 100%. You're doing. And I know it can be difficult, but you've got to acknowledge the wins. You've got to scream and shout the wins, and you know, and cheer yourself. You've got to be your own cheerleader as well.
Absolutely.
Plus, have the support system like these guys and the guys at Newport. When you're around these guys, they'll cheer you. You know, that's why in there now, when people are hitting certain things, we're hitting the buzzers and making noise, and you want to get guys screaming and clapping and cheering each other on, because you want to celebrate this stuff. On that note as well, sorry, I keep babbling on. There's so much in my head to get out with this stuff. I could talk about this stuff all day. With like what you said about the coaching stuff earlier, you're right. I mean, there's a lot that goes in, especially when you first start a club. Stan can tell you this, and Ben, because they're living it right now. There's a lot that goes into it. It's like a full-time job at the start. It really is, and it needs that to get it rolling. But then if you get people to buy in and you make them feel like it's their club, they're not on the program, but they're part of it. They own it, and then they buy in. You get the team around you, and then it's not just like, yeah, you can take some credit for the stuff that happens, but it's very much a team thing. You know, like this club wouldn't be what it was without Quinny, without Ian, without Stan, without so many other guys, without Maxi, who's no longer at MVF. So yeah, I do my job, but they've all played a role. Everyone's built this club. It's a team effort.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm glad that's the case. Final one. Well, I'll finish on this. The same as I ask everybody else, and I think it's a great question to ask you personally as a coach. People will be watching this all across Wales, hopefully, and then they're going, "Oh, shall I give it a go? Do I give it a go?" What's your message to anyone that's considering joining ManvFAT?
I know it's a cliche, but do it. Look, I think if you're watching this, if you're a guy who's been struggling with your weight, you've been on and off, and you've heard the stories, it's always the same story. And a lot of the time, guys don't talk about this stuff. Women tend to talk about it, and there's clubs around for them. It's something we keep to ourselves. You don't have to, because there's a bunch of guys down here for you. You can come and do this stuff with them. They know where you are. They've been where you are. All of the coaches, myself included, we've all been there. We've all had our own issues. So you don't need to do it alone. You don't need to keep doing it alone and keep stopping and starting and going off. Just come and be with a bunch of guys who know exactly what you're going through and who can help you and support you and cheer you. So you don't have to be by yourself trying to pretend it doesn't matter as much as, you know, you want the world not to think it's not that big of a deal, but we know it can be. So just come down, get involved with the guys, and get the support you deserve and that you need. You know, get that community support around you.
Amazing, amazing. I haven't regretted it, and I'm sure you won't either if you do give it a try. Naz, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Most welcome, mate.
Very, very good. And I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to seeing this, and I wish you all the best in the future going forward.
Guys.
Thank you, mate.
So much, mate.